It's a good morning to you and welcome to 2024. This is the Breakfast Club on Asake Online. I hope you had a very fruitful festive season. Imali yakho ayidla kuhle kungela muntu okudisturbayo sekungu January ke kathesi. I hope you also kumele uyekela abanye abangadla imali yabo labo bezikholisele. I know I have friends who normally look for me ngo January kuphela. I'm waiting for their calls, especially nxa izikolo seziyavulwa. So I really hope that we enjoyed and we are back at site as well. This is our first program for the year. Lapho siyabe sixoxa kona ngento ezitshiyeneyo and we are looking forward to a very interesting year. A lot is happening. Siyabe sikhuluma nge-drought, siyabe sikhuluma ngokulima, sikhuluma nge-development ikakhulu futhi njalo site in this program we always talk a lot about politics as well, but it is a very good year, I hope, and we welcome you to this program. So in the first program today we will be talking to Chief. It's quite significant that siqalisa iprogram sikhuluma lo Chief. So kuyabe kulezibusiso labaphansi labo basibusisa. I think uChief uzasiphelekezela sike sifike nje lele labana sibuza ukuthi kanti indaba izulu lingasani. So siyabe sikhuluma lo Chief Bidi today. He's one of the youngest chiefs in Zimbabwe. Basingakhohlwa ukuthi kule Chief Takamela ukuthi Chief Takamela nje ukuthi umude kuphela, but he's one also of the youngest chiefs. So one of the things that I really admire about these chiefs is that they really have done well for themselves and for the communities, and each time I've interacted with them, they really do good things in their communities. Uchief wangaza sometime last year case lapana, I think a case a nigi vote of thanks kulo president and really mentioned critical issues. Nganga uchief unzamuzo ngani yakakasa hayi wayibekinda developmental issues. So today we'll be talking about the development issues in his community, what he has done, what he's looking forward to, but also the challenges as allies of the community. Chief, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, Mr. Ndebele.
So siqalisa lapha nje abantu bangavele bekubone abona base becabanga ukuthi uzabeka ukuthi halo nyaka sizayenza so ngoDisemba lapha nje kuyakuthethwa amacala ugweba inkomo ezingaka ngoDisemba.
Leyo inzima le Ndebele. Abantu bayadubeka ukugweba siyagweba sibili kodwa siyazama ukuthi sibe nganeno kodwa mawusikliwa singeke sikwekile kodwa siyazama ukuthi kube nganeno. Siqede umnyaka wethu with a very challenging year because we're trying to bring a lot of changes in just a single year. So yikho kwenza umnyaka wethu waba ngathi ubanzima, but relatively I think we're having the right direction. Into esiyenza ezasenza sithi sibe phambili lamaphupho ethu mangiwakhangela kathesi ayengamaphupho kakhulu kodwa kungathi okunye sokuvezeka ukuthi mhlawumbe there is light at the end of the dark tunnel.
Yeah, so sizakhuluma ama projects eliwenza community, but maybe saqalisa lapho ukuthi you're one of the youngest chiefs and how kuba i-challenge njani uleader i-community ukuthi uhlale phansi labo bekulale bekubone ukuthi umbono wakho lo uyahamba.
Well, the very biggest part is about the looks, maybe I would say, because the traditional leadership into ekhangelele ukuthi into yabadala asebehambe bahamba bayibona indlela babadala kodwa kathesi sokufike thina i-generation sokusiba le generation yama chiefs which are not necessarily looking very old ukuthi singathi ngabadala. So that's the very biggest obstacle. Imagine if I was to go into a bank queue now and say, yeah, I know, I'm speaking to the security guard or to the manager or to whoever is there. I'm saying, I'm the chief. To this place. Can you recognize me or something like that? It's something that's really hard because when someone looks at a chief, they don't expect to see someone like me. They don't expect even to see someone dressed like me. Anti abonke ngqoke kanjani. Yes. Lento zonke yonke into liyani yafunakala.
So the other thing, being young also means you also bring different ideas from abadala bakujwayeleyo. You know, you run things differently. And I was wondering, yeah, right, but maybe we need to do these things, changing and bringing those changes. How easy is it, or how difficult is it?
Yeah, it's two-pronged. The good part about the old systems is we can't totally abolish them, because if you really investigate the reasons behind these certain systems that exist from the old systems, there's a reason for certain procedures and certain requirements. So my approach to all of this is, I would like to go with a hybrid approach, not totally doing away with the old system, but sort of like mixing with the, as you can see, the world is taking a turn in terms of into eziningi ezenzakalayo. So the best way to go about it is to mix the two, mix the old and mix the new, because we need the old so that we stay within our identity, our direction, and what really our institution really needs to do. Because if we come up with new ideas and new procedures altogether, I think we are going to get lost on what exactly we are supposed to do. Yeah,
because it's at the end of the day, it's about the cultural institution.
Yes.
So kulezi izinto vele ezithiwa ngezesiko ukuthi vele ngokuhlala uchief umelenze so uchief umelenze so, but also at the center now we find, because you guys are chief but young, but also the world over abantu into the development lezi sezingena kibo. What role does the chief play within ethuthukisa isigaba?
The very first part of this, all of this, what you've just asked me, the chief is the chief baker of the community. When you see me sitting here, I'm the face. I'm the one who is supposed to mobilize, because I'm not doing this alone. I'm a development agent in my community, but the lead development agent. Of course, we have councillors, we have MPs, we have all of those, but sometimes these people, when it comes to elections, they are not re-elected. So for continuity purposes, I'm always there. I'm going to vacate that place only by the coffin. So I'm a development agent and I'm the chief baker of that community. Whatever we're supposed to do, I'm supposed to mobilize there. All of those things, I'm supposed to be at the center. I'm playing a central role in all those development efforts in the community.
I know in your community, you are trying to build a community center, if I might call that.
Yes.
How did this idea come about?
Well, it is multi-pronged, if I might say. I became chief in 2013. That's about wow, I already 24. It's about 11 years.
11 years.
I'm used to saying it's 10 years back. We really didn't have, as traditional leadership, 200 years ago, or how many years ago, our elders, they were always meeting under trees. And the disadvantage with all of that is sometimes there's going to be rain. Sometimes you tend to rush things. You're saying, it's getting too hot, or it's cold. People want to dismiss and what have you. That's one of the issues. And the place we were using is doubling up. Afterwards, it's a bar of sorts. So when we looked at it, we thought, no, we are not meeting at the right place. And it's not our place, as in Asondawe. So the proprietor is free to use that place.
So
that was one of the main problems. And the other problems was other political events were hosted in the same arena. And we were basically there at the benevolence of the owner of the property. So we really didn't have ownership. We didn't have anything that's our own. We couldn't plan ahead or say as Africa Lapana and do this. We don't have our own thing. So that's one of the reasons. The second, as you say, I'd like to call it a complex. It's a multi-purpose complex. In Kundlale, the what I was talking about, we didn't have our place. We wanted to do in Kundla. So one of the components of this multi-purpose complex is in Kundla too. We are going to have a computer lab, and then we are going to have offices for the traditional leadership. Inkundla is not necessarily for Inkundla kuphela. Our plan is to have that place. People will be people like yourselves, the NGOs. You'll be coming to host your programs there. You'll pay a token there for the upkeep of that place. And one of the main activities we plan to do in Kundleni is vocational trainings. We want to make seasons. Maybe this time we are doing carpentry. We are going to do plumbing. We are going to do bakery. All of those things, and that is our place as traditional leadership. That is the great point about that place, because here in Dawetu, traditional leadership is only ihlali khona. Come elections will remain there. Come next elections will remain there. So it's good to have a place that is going to have continuity and is going to belong to the community, because traditional leadership lay whole abantu laba hola traditional leadership, not necessarily the political leadership. So this will be really a community complex, not to say ukuthi traditional leadership. I also mentioned ukuthi kuyaba offices there. Sometimes we have challenges ukuthi umuntu uyabefuna certain things, ufuna ukubhalelwa, wants to have a certain proof ukuthi ayithola ama-birth certificates, and with all of that, we just want a friendly place, an open place. Sometimes kuba nzima when you usulanda u-headman or usobhuku emzini wakhe. So we have professional offices abekhona lapana, ama-headman azabe ekhona, will make a roster ukuthi bazabe bekhona, just so that traditional leadership is easily accessible. And also the other thing is we are looking at our youth. If you remember, before I was a chief, I was also a youth outside of this system. Now I'm inside of this system. I'm just looking at our youth. There's a lot of school dropouts. And if you look at our community, most of the people, they prefer ukuthi abaningi vele ababhali. People go to SA. So we just thought of ukuthi, what if we come up with something that will deter them from getting caught up in the vices that they get when they get in South Africa. You go there, you have a plumbing skill. You go there, you can bake. You go there, you're an electrician. You're a solar specialist. We just want to capacitate our youth. Not everyone is going to go to South Africa. We're going to have people who are going to remain there. It doesn't necessarily make sense for me or my family to go and buy a coffin from somewhere else, when we can have people who are babazayo, we can have carpentry. We have to have abantu who are upskilled in our community, so that our development efforts as abakhona will have skill that is coming from within our villages.
Maybe some of the people so indawo le inganani, so i-chieftainship yakho i-cover ama areas inganani?
It's a small area compared to other chiefs, because I only have 2 wards, and the villages are Lao, Nle Bidi, Nle Machina, Nle Nhlupho, Nle Lingwe, Le Sentana, Hlababomvu. Most people know it as St. Joseph, Sky, and due to delimitation, we seem to have additional 2 villages, Mtsulu village and Buya village, although it's still not really clear how we're going to go about it. But basically, when we are comparing with other chiefs, it's really a small area. So my boundaries are with Chief Fuyana, Chief Malaba, and Chief Bangu.
So yeah, it's we in community in abantu abalingeneyo, and you're doing a massive project. How do you what's your plan in terms of how are you going to fund this project?
At the moment, we don't have funding. We are doing it as community, as you said before. The previous month, December, we're in January now. 22 and 23, we had our first fundraising. Is Zenzele Bidi. We came up with a plan. Most of our communities now, if you look at it, there's a trend of tournaments, sports tournaments. People are making sports, but they are individuals. They're making tournaments. The economic part of that tournament is when you are the sponsor or the organizer of that tournament, you are the one who has exclusive rights to sell wares or on those particular. Usually they are conducted within 2 days so as to maximize the selling. So our first fundraising effort was the soccer and netball tournament, which we did over 2 days, 22 and 23 December. That was our first fundraising effort. We are really honored to and we got a chance to spread our weight. Maybe that's where we are going to get sponsors, because we are looking for some. We are working with what we have as a community, but we are basically looking for additional hands so that can help us, so that we can maybe per se speed up the process of building our vision or our complex. Because I went to a certain area over the holidays there after the tournament. Those people were at a community hall that they started building in 1981, I think. So they have about 40-something years. Just built. It was the opening. So I'm just saying. So it's really a long road, but we are not anticipating that we are going to spend that much time. Since we are here, everyone is watching. We have a community which is resident here in Zimbabwe, the diaspora, and everyone else who is interested. Not necessarily saying we are limiting to people who are from our area, but we are just really spreading the weight and spreading out and we get help so that we push our project.
I think it's really a good idea, because I find that having worked a lot with civil society and even government officials and departments, it's cheaper to have a wall, a committee where NGOs or World Vision or whoever or whatever than and spend a lot of money. So I see this as a way that even different organizations, government departments, civil society, NGOs can actually partner with the community to have this complex. With Labo, after that, they can have a center that they can use. But do you have an estimate with the cost delay in our cost and Ghana?
We're going to do it in stages. The first stage is obviously the multi-purpose hall. And what you just mentioned, we'll also have maybe pens. We are looking into it. Whoever wants to hire, because we are looking into raking in revenue as to fund. But basically, we are still working with quantity surveyors to get the correct figures. But we are looking at something for just the whole, the multi-purpose wall, not looking at the other superstructure. We're looking at something, anything north of 15,000 US. When I say 15,000 US, there's other materials which is going to come from the community. the community is going to provide with bricks, the farm bricks, the lasers in Semakaya.
Yeah.
We are going to use them mostly maybe in the interior halls or something. We are looking at maybe buying face brick for aesthetics because it complex it is funny. So we'll buy a few face bricks, but most of the sands and the what have you is going to come from the community. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I copied from the other guys who did their community hall. The labor was coming from we have local builders and various skilled people. So it's really good to see that if this project comes to fruition, we're going to add onto that skill. We'll have more people who will have that skill to help us in whatever development projects that may come.
So okunye abantu bangathi okay sesizivile maybe we slembuzo we ofuna ukucontribute. Where do they contribute? Baba conductor where can they say okay
Yes.
sifuna ukuzwa nje ukuthi what are the opportunities for partnership nxenye omunye ufuna ukubuya ezoyenza something khona phe hall because abantu babona business opportunity
Yes. That's a good question. As I said before, we just did our first fundraising event for this. So we haven't really necessarily because this is a community event. We don't want just to jump the gun and just say put the man there. We just want to streamline and put a proper financial roadmap for people to be able to contribute. So that is our next step now. I'm sure within the next 2 weeks, maybe within the next few or 2 weeks, we'll have a plan on how, because if you look at it, there are local people, there are people in SA, there are people maybe overseas. So we have to put all of that into context when looking into our payment systems and how we are going to audit them. So it's a process, but we are really welcoming that help and kuseduzane into abantu abazabayazi maduze nje umnyaka usaqala nje kathesi.
Yeah, because into zemali uyava ukuthi uchief udla imali
that's what I'm trying. I don't want to put it in my personal account.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to find ways as to how we can best I'm seeking advice from various stakeholders as to how we can best structure this so that community projects, the main pillar of community projects is accountability. So we just want to do it in a manner that is very, 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 very accountable. That maybe that's the cause of the delay, because when we started this, it was already late in December and we couldn't get the processes running. Most of the places were closing. So I think this is the month for doing that, and we're committed to giving people an accountable, transparent way of contributing and a way for them to see where their contributions are going.
Chief yathi sethengisa inkomo zakhe ukuthi anjambona uthatha imali community.
Yes, that's the issue.
But how has been the response yabantu on this project?
It has really been good, especially evident with the event that we just did. The event was oversubscribed. People came in their numbers. They wanted to see what was happening because, as I said earlier today, I have hosted two memorial tournaments. In those tournaments, with the complimentary meals and everything, there was nothing. You didn't have to have. You didn't have to have a cent to enjoy in that event. But since this one was a fundraising, we changed and there were no complimentary meals or drinks. People were to buy at a token because that was community. It was not a chief. Tournament got chief. My tournaments, they have complimentary meals, complimentary drinks, complimentary services and all of that. So we just took a shift from that so that we can have value addition to the little money that we had.
Yeah. So usually in communities, the biggest problem is there are two problems. The biggest problem is drug abuse. Wonke umuntu engihamba ke usemfeni ngapha abantu bakhala ngenjengo ukuthi injengo siqeda abantwana, you know, even abadala abantu badakwa bayalwa bayakwazana. How is that problem in your community?
It's terrible. It's really, as you just mentioned it, this is a national problem. We are really looking into ways on how to curb that, and the complex will come in handy because we are trying to limit the idle time of our youth. You won't have time to drink the njengu when you are busy learning how to be a carpenter, how to be a plumber, how to be a solar technician, installer, drip irrigation, all of these things. We are trying to get people busy. And one of the things that makes our communities vulnerable to these things is the lack of knowledge. Our community complex is going to have a computer lab that's going to cater for, basically mostly is going to cater for the schools that are within my chieftainship for free. During scheduled times, we're going to have rosters. This school is going to come during this period. This school is going to come during this period. And then we are going to also have Wi-Fi for anyone who has their own gadget. Will come anytime there, so people will have access to information. We are trying to get, this is an information age, we are trying to get people to have information so that maybe it may steer them from some of these vices that are available in our society nowadays.
The good thing is that I'm talking to a chief. You know, last election, Wavalenda was a Wi-Fi at Country Park. I'm loser, I have Wi-Fi. But because I'm talking to a chief, I know it's something that is going to be sustainable because you are not contesting any post or you're not campaigning. But also the other thing linked to our issues, the community, Zinda was a land. You know, Zinda was also land. You know, do you have such challenges in your community?
Yes, we have such challenges. We are trying to plug them. We are coming up with a system of land issuing. That's what we are working on. It's not an easy journey because in the and for you to discover that someone has been allocated land, it's going to take some time. So we are trying to get a way of maybe first of all auditing the available homesteads that are there, so that when we do our periodic audits, we can see that there's been an addition there. It's actually very painful to evict someone. So we are trying to do preventive measures so that we don't get to a stage where we are saying you are not allocated this piece of land correctly. We want to evict you. So we are trying to come up with preventive measures that will try to minimize, because it's really a cancer that is spreading in our communities, the whole of Zimbabwe.
Okwenza lowe bukhwaba abantu kombe ukuthi abantu abalalend kumbe abona laba abale power usobhuku uyabe sebona umuntu ovela diaspora nya una $200 uniqumela iland, or what is the big major
problem? It's because of multiple reasons. The first one, of course, is because of greed, because of also maybe they might be greedy. The second one might be people, relatively, people in our country, they don't want to go through processes. People want to do shortcuts because they've gone to the diaspora, they've gone where they have the money, they want to pay their way through the processes. So that's basically the most influencing factors. And the third factor is when we are looking at it in a certain way, almost everyone came from somewhere. So the problem basically is not people who are originating from originally from the area. It's people who are coming from somewhere. Because if you can see, some people will be running away from something, wherever they come from. Some have conflicts with people where they originate. So that makes them try to bypass some of the controls so that they just have a place to go, because where they are coming from is maybe it's now an uphill task to get land, because maybe your parents or your grandparents had land there, they had problems and what have you, you were evicted there. At the end of the day, you don't have anywhere to go, so you tend to come to these places and bypass controls, and there's just a lot of factors that come along. Maybe you have bad reputation where you're coming from. You just want a fresh start. But when you come here, come there, we're going to ask you, where are you coming from? We want a remove from where you come from, because we want to get information on what kind of person were you, where you're coming from. So that sort of process, people don't like their dirty laundry coming out. So that maybe fuels people to bribe their way around and just,
Yeah, you mentioned into eqhakathekile ukuthi vela kula muntu lapho umuntu ongaveli somewhere, because ekhaya sebesikwazi ukuthi ngakhula vele kule ndawo yakoNdebele laphana ubaba uzahamba ekhuluma labomakhelwane bakuthi umntwana nami sefuna ukuyakha lapha, akudingi sabhuku, akudingi chief ngoba usabhuku iphongo kuyimfonyo nje ukuthi hayi umntwana sesimtshayela ihlahla laphana. But then nxa umuntu sesukela upane ezotshayela ihlahla eplumtree sekuhlupha, because so it's usually people from other areas.
Yes.
Ababuya for some reasons in these areas, and it's turning out to be a problem, because
yes.
But the main aim of this program mainly was to talk about the multi-complex and it says Peter, what can you say to Abantu, iqhakatheke okunganani i-complex lay to uchief and abantu bakobhidi?
Wayikhuluma indaba. This multi-purpose complex is very dear to me. I almost dream about it almost daily. Maybe to some of the community members, some people are Thomases. They want to see something that's there. So when I'm visualizing it, when I'm talking about it, when there's nothing that's already there, some people might not be already hitching on the bandwagon. But it's really important, because it's going to be owned by the people. It's going to be for the people. It's going to serve the people. It's going to be used by the people. Everything is going to be about the people. It's going to be theirs. I forgot to mention that we are not looking at making profits for this multi-purpose hall. Most of the funds that we are going to get are going to go towards maybe we are going to need to hire equipment for a certain season. Maybe we want to hire equipment for carpentry. We want to hire, because we don't have it at the moment. We want to pay for bandwidth for the Wi-Fi that I mentioned, and also for the upkeep of the structure, because we don't want a situation whereby after 10 or 20 years, that thing is a white elephant. You want the continuous development of the structure. I forgot to mention that the structure is going to also have a community granary. It's Palasenkos. That is going to help the needy, because we are going to identify families who really need, even from the colonial or the pre-colonial areas. People knew that when they were in trouble, to get food, they had to go to the chief. So we want to revamp that system so that people have somewhere to go to when they are in dire need. So it's one of the reasons that shows that this complex is for the people, by the people, used by the people. It's not the complex for the chief. It's a community complex.
Yeah, vele thina sikwazi uchief kumele ebe lenkomo eziningi, ebe leziphalo eziningi, singalamba zihamba kuchief for ukudla, singekele uswele nxa sina nkomo zokwelusa sihamba uchief esinikeza ukusenga. So you really have a big role in trying to bring this. But what the chief is saying is that for those who are, have the means to help and ideas, doesn't mean ukuthi kumele ube le mali, but you might be having ideas on how this dream can be fulfilled. So he's calling upon abantu ukuthi abantu bako Bidi, they want to build this multi-purpose complex. Kuyabe kulesiphala senkosi, kuyabe kule nkundla, kuyabe kulama ihall yokuthi abantu bechadele, kuyabe kule the vocational training center for young people to train, which I find very important and necessary, because the reason why we end up having abantu doing, or young people doing drug abuse is because there's nothing to do. But there's a lot of money to be made. Every time I find strangers behamba bevala imbiza zabantu, and I'm asking myself ukuthi ambe sure sesingaze sibe labantu abavela khatshana khona bezosivalela imbiza nge-150 thina sikhona khonapha, and of course what is said, umuntu xa sebuye vala imbiza, the next day senguprofit sevula ichurch, the next day sebuye lo malumakhe, sebuye labazukulu bakhe, and that's how villages end up being, I don't know, end up having foreigners village ngokumuntu obuya vala imbiza lamekela obuya lezihlobo zakhe zonke. But it's quite critical, and when you talk about these things, people think that we are being political, but abantu bakithi kwesinye isikhathi kuqakathekile ukuthi we learn these skills, because siyasuka siye eGoli fike khona impilo ibe nzima futhi abantu bebuye bengasebenzi, yet we can actually make a lot of money living by providing the same services. Of course, futhi singahambe eGoli sine skill, it will be much better, because ungafika uvale imbiza lawo eGoli kona ngale umbuyenza plumbing, and the chief is bringing quite an excellent idea that we need to have these centers where people can build. So we really is appealing for people to support, to bring ideas, to bring resources, so that this dream can be a reality. And of course, he said he doesn't want to uthathe 40 years sloku sikhulumeze eKhokhove eloku sithi sifuna ukuyakha ihall. It's not another Zambezi water project, kumele kube nje kuthiwa cup. So this was the program, the first one of the year, Breakfast Club, where we're talking to Chief Bidi, and he's talking about the multi-purpose complex that they want to build, and asking for ideas, for resources, so that his dream can come true. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. Let's meet again in other projects and programs.